Record!
Alright, today we're doing a review of probably the best anime in the entire world, and that is Pupa. Actually, I think this is the worst anime ever made, but Sam, he disagrees with me.
Yeah, I do disagree with Paul indeed. I've seen some much, much worse anime in my time. For example, Sword Art Online and Ruby, if we're counting that as an anime.
I guess we will count that as an anime. I mean, it looks like an anime. It wants to be an anime. It's an anime.
And it's as dumb as most animes, so...
So I'm gonna ask, what do you think Pupa's potential was that wasn't that makes it better than these shows? What do you?
Well, it's not necessarily that Pupa does anything to make it better. It's that the shows that I've seen are just worse. So it's not that Pupa has anything that makes it special.
Okay.
Although the thing about Pupa is, I think the real problem I have with this anime is, I know I'm not a huge anime connoisseur, and I know that, you know, when it comes to Japan and Japanese animation, there's a lot that I miss because I'm not really a watcher, but I do understand how you construct stories. I studied mythology, I've studied literature.
Okay, yeah.
And I know that there's so much wrong with this anime in terms of as a story. And I think the biggest problem is the one that you pointed out, is the fact that it's been about a week since we've seen it, so we've given it some time to digest, and yet I can't remember a single character's name, and neither could you.
I could not remember it. Did you have to look up what the girl's name was?
I did have to look up the characters' names on Wikipedia to remind myself.
Yeah, that's how little impression the characters give you. And this is an anime about a girl who goes around and eats people. Wouldn't that make some sort of impression? But literally,
you'd think so.
And not only it has the incestual chomping on scene. And
we'll get to that later.
But it still made zero impression. And to go back on what you said, you know, it doesn't matter if it's an anime. Being an anime is not an excuse. Anime should use its personal charms to do a story in its own little way, but it should not, you know, lose out on what it means to be a story in the process. It should not use I'm an anime as an excuse, because that's what makes a forgettable anime different from an actually really good anime.
Yeah, but I do think that there are some specific anime tropes that this anime particularly falls into. Like, before we go on, I think we should probably just summarize the story briefly for those who are lucky enough not to have seen this.
To summarize the story. Okay.
You can do it better than I can, Paul.
All right. This is an anime about a girl who randomly, a boy and his sister suddenly randomly becomes a monster who needs to feed on people. She can't help herself. She loves to eat people once she becomes this monster. It seemed to happen completely randomly after some sort of, what was it, a monkey or a dog attacked her and got his tentacles all over her, and then she became a monster herself, and then...
I think that there was some kind of monster attack to start with, if I remember rightly, but I think the thing that really triggered the weirdness was seeing the red butterflies.
Oh, God.
Red butterflies are kind of a motif in this show.
Oh, yes, because...
I'm not really sure why.
Oh, okay, because red butterflies, the cycle of death and rebirth. You know, you're so very deep show, you know, of course. And anyway, the brother...
Almost as deep as naming a pink-haired girl Sakura,
that's so very deep and meaningful.
Low blow!
Oh, that was... Yeah. Every Naruto fan hates you. Wait, no, they hate her anyway. Never mind.
Hey!
So she becomes this monster. She needs to feed on people. How do they solve this problem? Well, her brother somehow, some way, develops the ability to regenerate his skin. So how do they solve this problem?
It's not just his skin, it's his flesh and all of his organs as well.
Okay, everything. He can regenerate everything because,
We're talking like a cross between Wolverine and Deadpool here in terms of healing factors.
Yes, and so what happened is that, you know, the show is like, well, the only logical conclusion is for her, since she likes to eat so much, she needs to feed on her brother and chomp away on him, and and so that solves that problem, and so I
can never hear the phrase "nom nom nom" again.
Yes, she goes all nom 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 on me, and so she doesn't have to eat on other people. It seems somewhat logical, I guess. You mean if you have that extreme of a problem and you want to live in everyday society, I guess you gotta make ends meet to some degree.
But then they show you, like, it's not just the case of, she eats him and that's it. It's how they frame it. It's
God, this is
it's very, very sexualized, and it's creepy.
So sexualized. It's not even
so wrong.
I mean, you can watch the whole thing on YouTube, and it's just so wrong. I actually read 7 chapters of the manga before this anime came out, and I dropped it so fast because I knew where this was going. I knew what kind of crap this was. I know the manga fans are all like, "Oh, this anime is a piece of crap" in comparison, but the manga was a piece of crap too. So, but this is just so distasteful, and it's like, oh, we can't have actual incest in anime yet too much, so we'll just do the next best thing, having them eat their flesh in a very sexualized fashion.
Which is so wrong when you consider that a huge deal is made out of the fact that these characters are kids.
Yes. And, and to touch on the plot, there's also a secret organization who kind of wants out to get them for some reason. That's
because of course this is horror science fiction, and of course there's an evil organization, because of course there is.
Apparently the leader, this woman with a scar who always just seems to enjoy getting a kick out of watching the main characters suffer and make a mess out of things. She was apparently born as a very strange baby or something. Her mother was very paranoid of her, and wanted to kill her or something. And unfortunately, that's all I can give you, because that's all this show gives you. And
Oh, no. That's you confusing things. I think that the mother who was scared and confused, I'm pretty sure that actually that was referring to the 2 main siblings.
Okay, you see, this is what the show does. It never clarifies anything.
This is the problem with the show. In that it jumps all over the place constantly, so you're never quite sure if you're focusing on one set of characters or another. And the other problem with the fact that it's constantly moving all over the place is that you have no sense of time. So we have no idea if these events are all happening in the same day, in the same week, in the same month, over a year, whatever. And the fact that it is a very short story to begin with just makes you really, really confused and disorientated. So if you're not kind of reeling from the horrible horrorness of a little girl eating her brother, it's probably because you're just spaced out in your mind going, what?
That's basically what this show is selling it as. It doesn't care about the story. It's selling it for the shock value. I mean, when you have an anime that's basically... there was so much hate on it when this happened, but where every episode is 3-4 minutes long, and it's done over a period of 12 episodes. It doesn't care about anything but the shock value. And
You'd assume that might be a good way to summarize it. I mean, can you imagine if episodes of Dragon Ball Z had been 3-4 minutes long? That would have summarized the story really quickly for those of us who didn't watch it as a kid.
You could do all of Dragon Ball Z in 20 episodes like that if you just sped through everything. But you know what?
They find a shitload of just no screaming, no power level bullshit. Just get right to the fights, show them, and surmise the story really quickly. I can kind of see how that might be good for adapting a really long work, but as I understand it, this manga didn't actually run all that long. It ran for about a year and a half, I
didn't
think.
even look up that much information.
I'm still on the Wikipedia page, to be honest.
I don't know anything about it. I wanted to stay as far away from this anime as possible. The only reason I watched it was to show him so he could suffer. That was about it.
Yeah, this is kind of a running thing. Paul will find a terrible anime and he'll show me. So
that's exactly how I get my kicks in life.
To ruin my life.
You see, he's such a Samven, he loves the finer details in writing. You know, it's not that he's like a perfectionist. It's not like everything needs to be a perfect thing about the story, but he loves the finer details. He loves when a writer actually puts care into it. And so I absolutely have to show him works where the writer honestly didn't give a crap and is just selling out for, you know, whatever, you know, in this case, shock value, and Sword Art Online, it's wish fulfillment, and
sexism. You missed out the sexism. That was the best part of Sword Art Online.
I haven't watched RWBY, but for most part, RWBY's probably just selling out on having action sequences and cute girls being dumb. Probably, I haven't watched it.
And actually, I think I've worked out the main one of the main problems with both this and Sword Art Online, which you showed me. It's the fact that, despite the fact that so much emphasis is placed on the female characters, they serve no purpose except to be, and I'm sorry to be crass here, but this is exactly their purpose. Their sole purpose is pretty much just to be walking vaginas. And, like, examples of that in Sword Art Online... When do Kirito and Asuna actually have a meaningful conversation that expands upon their relationship? And 16.5 doesn't count, okay?
No.
Because I couldn't name one. And similarly here, the main female character around whom this entire plot turns pretty much does nothing except eat her brother's flesh suggestively. And then the woman who's part of the mysterious conspiracy organization, whose name I've actually just found out was Maria.
Did they ever mention her name?
I don't know.
I don't think they did.
But Maria's sole purpose, like,
is to be a troll.
Show, well, it's one part being a troll, and right at the end, her last scene is where she says, "I'm now carrying a child made from the egg and sperm of these two siblings," and you're like, wait, why would you do that? What was the point of that? How does that benefit you in the slightest? And then there's nothing else to her. It's just she's done.
Yep, and yeah, I guess at the end of the show,
really
they just
sad.
At the end of the show, they just kind of the brother kind of like just kills people. There's a section in the show where the brother like kills someone who wanted to hurt him or something. Some thug showed up at the school and was like, "Hey, you know, follow me, we're going somewhere." And then he kicks the brother's ass for a while, and then the brother like stabs him in the eye, and then the sister's all like, "Oh no!" And then they get captured, and because she's like afraid of her brother, and then she kills people, and she's like, "I'm no longer afraid of my brother," you know, because character development is just absolutely wonderfully done in the show, and everything is believable.
They snap their fingers and they say a line, and they think that constitutes character development.
They show a facial,
especially where the women are concerned. And
a facial expression is apparently character development in this series' eyes, and you know, and then they manage to kill all these armament. Then they go off and they live in school, and apparently nothing ever happens to them again. And it's like,
right?
Are you joking me? It's like you just live it. And of course, the series had to end on a high note with one more sexualized flesh-eating scene, because it is perfectly represented in a visual representation of basically her giving him a blowjob is what it looks like. And I'm like, you are amazing show, probably the best 10 out of 10. Best show ever.
Like, that's the thing though. Like, so, like, I completely love horror. Like, I read a ton of horror stories. I love horror movies. I'm chicken shit for this stuff, but I love it. I can't explain it. So the idea of like a killer virus that mutates people and gives them Lovecraftian superpowers, that has potential as an idea, but whatever potential it has is squandered because they want to spend so much time with these eating scenes, and we're not making a big deal about this. If you put all the eating scenes together back to back and then took them out of the show completely, you'd probably shave about 20 minutes off the running time,
which is 37 minutes of running time, by the way. I looked on YouTube. It's 37 minutes. It's pretty amazing. I'm just gonna say, just because I don't want to just bash the show, I'm gonna say, here's what could have, the idea isn't horrible. What they needed to do with this show, I mean, there's probably no fixing a show that's 3 minutes each, but maybe you could make an okay, decently entertaining horror show that's 3 minutes each. I doubt it, but
treat it as a short film.
You could do a lot better, for sure. And for one, take out the secret organization, take out the troll woman, take out her getting infected by the virus.
Which doesn't make sense.
What I would have done is I would have made her basically be doing this behind her brother's back. Like she goes off and kills people behind her back, but tries to live normally at home.
Oh, that would be kind of interesting.
And then she's trying to be the cute little sister, but she's actually eating people behind his back. But keep it subtle. Don't keep it anime, exaggerate melodrama bullshit, okay? And just because you're an anime does not mean you have to exaggerate everything. If you're JoJo, you can exaggerate everything. If you are a horror, you either go completely blitzkrieg over the top, which, you're just comedy horror at that point.
Yeah, but that would be... Although, to be honest, I would kind of like to see a horror kind of JoJo thing. Everything is just over the top.
That's fine. But the other... you have to be as subtle as humanly possible. Because the second you break immersion in a horror, which this does within 2 minutes... 2
minutes? I was going within 2 seconds.
Okay, 2 seconds. Whatever. The second you break immersion in a horror... it's over,
Right.
It's over. There is no horror without immersion. If you're not scaring someone, you're wasting your time as a story.
I think it's also ironic because the Japanese are the masters of horror. Like, if you see the old Japanese horror movies, like the original Ring and stuff, those are some scary films. And the difference between those and, say, American kind of horror films is that
it's always a bunch of dumb kids going on.
It's usually a bunch of dumb kids getting killed by a monster. Yeah. In most Japanese horrors, it's not really... Even if there's a monster, it's not kind of obvious about it. It's like you said, it's subtle. It's just this thing that passively, aggressively hates you and all organic life.
And just like Silent Hill 2, which is probably... Yeah. I don't know if you consider it, but I consider it the best horror game ever made.
It's brilliant. And to Pupa's credit, I think they, it has the kind of atmosphere that could have worked for that subtle horror in terms of everything is kind of foggy and vague and shrouded. But the problem is that it has what could have been the atmosphere of that kind of subtle, deep, emotional horror, and yet it completely ruins it because every 5 seconds we get the shot of the girl as being a big scary monster, and it's like, well, if you're just going to show the monster in our face within the first 5 minutes, up close, eating things and speaking with the voice of a little girl, it kind of becomes hard to take that seriously as a horror film.
And of course, it's not just the girl as a problem. The main character...
Everyone's a problem.
Everyone's a problem. You can't just have the main character be like, I'm going to protect my sister because my, and show shots of, we were bullied as kids and stuff. You can't... Leave all that shit out. Leave all that shit out. Make it implied. Make it something that you can guess on based on the character's actions. Because I'm not saying he couldn't have had an abusive father, but don't show it to him like, oh, I'm a father, I'm gonna light a cigarette on your eye, and look, you got an eye burn. Yeah, no, it's bullshit. It's bullshit.
There's even worse problems of this, however, because I don't even think we've named the main protagonist, so let's do that really quickly. The main protagonist is named Utsutsu Hasegawa. I don't even know how to pronounce it.
Who cares what he's called?
The point is, this kid has precisely one character trait, and it's the character trait that I've seen a few times in shonen, and it's kind of the reason why anime as a whole turns me off. It's this whole big brother complex kind of thing, where the big brother is just completely obsessed with their younger sibling, usually a younger sister, to the point that it just becomes creepy. And that's pretty much how this goes down. The older brother has no character trait beyond being violently protective of his younger sister.
That's exactly the truth. He has literally, that is his only personality trait.
And likewise, the younger sister has no personality trait beyond being completely dependent on her big brother. So what we have here are two characters who are defined solely by their relationships to each other. And I know that it's a short show and that they didn't have time to make Berserk-esque depth characters with huge amounts of story and backstory. I get that. But you could have given these kids a bit more than just, I love you because you are my sibling, and it gets to really creepy levels. Just give them a bit more than that, guys. Come on. We need something to work with here.
Yeah, I was, I was thinking just now, I'm like, you know what? It's okay to have I hate to say this, you're going to hate me. It's okay to have a character that has a sister or brother complex, but it cannot define their entirety character. They cannot define their whole entire lifestyle,
Unless they're Lelouch in Code Geass R2. Boom!
Shut up. Oh, okay, you can't have it, basically, you can't have it define their whole character. It can be a part of the character. You can have a character with that kind of complex, as long as it's not oozing from them every second to the point where it's like, okay, Mr. Bro complex. If you could call anyone Mr. and then whatever personality trait they have, that's bad sign. A very bad sign.
When you can boil a character down to a single trope, it's a sign that you haven't made a very good character. And that's a problem that we can level not just the main characters at with this, but it applies to everyone. For example, Maria, her personality trait, as you said, is just to be a troll. The abusive father, he's the abusive father. There's nothing else to any of these people, even the scientists, who I was kind of getting invested in the scientists. I mean, okay, they were literally taking the older brother of Susu apart to find out how his mutation worked, but you kind of thought, why are they doing this? What's the point? Is there some kind of secret medical research? Is it a means justify the ends thing?
You know how I said to keep things implied?
But they never do anything with it.
I said to keep things implied at times, but when there's some gaping details missing to make sense of the plot entirety, I'm not saying you can't have a cryptic plot, but let's be honest, this is not cryptic. This is just stupid. But
this is a cryptic plot in the same sense that Kingdom Hearts is a cryptic plot. It's not because it's subtle; it's because it intentionally leaves huge chunks of the story out.
Because it doesn't have a story. It doesn't.
Right.
It doesn't have a story. It has events taking place.
That's the best summation of this, I think. It's not a single coherent story. It really is just a bunch of random events that happen to the characters.
And
holy God, it is like horror Ruby.
And you know what? The saddest part of this whole show is the very best part of it. It's the very end, which has nothing to do with the rest of the show. Absolutely nothing. It is just completely jarring tone shift. They're little kids. He wants to win her a prize, and they
keep trying.
And they keep trying. It's a little prize kids game. They're all in chibi-sized character design, and as a 2-minute thing, it's kind of cute. I can at least say it's kind of cute. Is it anything you're gonna remember? No, but it's kind of cute. It's harmless. I'm like, dang, you would have been better off making 2-minute, 3-minute things like this, because that would have actually been kind of cute,
But also, I think, I honestly thought, and this is really sad, but that 2-minute little bit of cuteness, I thought that was probably the most interesting part of the whole story, because for the first time we had some character motivation. He's trying to do something for his sister. There's even it's got a self-contained story. It's got other characters who come in and assist, and he finally wins something in the end, and hey, presto, you have yourself a little story. And I was thinking, I think I said this as soon as the show was over. I said, I think it would have been more effective if this had been put at the start of the show so that we could see the two.
With all of my idea changes as well, of course.
Yeah.
But you're right. It should have been at the start.
At the start of the show, then we can see how these kids kind of had this adorable, cute little life. And then we would feel more sorry for them because this horrible virus has mutated them into these terrible things. So we've got the juxtaposition of what they used to be with what they are now because of this virus. And that would have been a bit more tragic and a bit more emotional, I think. But
Definitely.
no, we couldn't do that. Let's just have another suggestive eating scene again.
Oh, well, maybe one day. Well, I'm sure there is an anime horror done right in an anime series format. I haven't actually watched one. Personally, I have not.
If they ever adapt the post-eclipse stuff of Berserk, I think that'll count with some of the shit that goes down in the manga.
You know, I guess that would kind of count. Yeah. So basically, Mira write Berserk more often, and get.
I'm trying to keep quoting that, by the way.
Oh, well, that's because Berserk is absolutely wonderful, and we're comparing we're basically comparing God to a little turd, is what we're doing. So it's kind of really unfair to even,
it's like one side has a pea shooter and the other's got a rocket launcher.
I'm sure we could have all the fun in the world with Sword Art Online, and I think Pupa's worse than Sword Art Online. Just because
I think they're both bad, but it's just that I find Sword Art Online worse because it was longer and because there was
that's
more
true.
of it.
That's probably it. Is that Sword Art Online? It's like, when is this thing ever gonna end? So technically, it's worse. While Pupa's over, really fast. It's not even 2 episodes long. So that is the summarization of Pupa. You watch it. Don't watch it, please. Just. No, why would you ever watch Pupa? I mean, the only reason anyone watched Pupa is because they're like, does she really bite on his flesh in a sexualized fashion?
Oh,
that's it.
It really does, and the word, and it really does feel like this show was an excuse to show that. That's all it is.
Until we can show porn on TV without anyone complaining. Otherwise, this would just be porn.
That's a brilliant way to sum it up. It's like porn without seeing anything. It's like, and again, considering who these characters are, it's just, I couldn't look at half of it because the eating scenes are so gratuitous. They go on forever. They don't stop.
Oh God, yeah, they go on. I mean,
they milk this for all it's worth, and then some.
That's where all the animation budget went to.
With.
That's where all the animation budget went to. That's where all the time, because you would think this show's only 3 minutes apiece. The animation should be good, right? Because they don't even have much to work with. The animation is horrific. Everything's horrific. The only thing that you could say is any good is like, wow, the main character sure knows how to scream. And that's about it.
I did think that there were occasions, like the animation sometimes it did show some innovation when they weren't showing horrible things. Like, for example, in the opening scene where it kind of sets up the misty terrain with the red butterflies going past, with the red butterflies going past, we have this weird kind of juxtaposition of the real and the monstrous, and it's like, oh, that looks kind of pretty in a spooky kind of way. I wonder what they're doing with it. And then after that, it's just like, it all falls apart.
Yep. Well, I think we've covered all we can really cover. I mean,
there wasn't much to cover.
I mean, what? This show's only 37 minutes long. What else do you want us to say? I mean, I'm sure we went way past. I'm sure we overanalyzed.
Although I'm pretty sure that if you took out the eating scenes, it would probably only be about 17 minutes.
And it would have been better for it. And then I probably wouldn't have even felt so bad about it. I would just be like, well, that was kind of stupid, but now it's like gonna haunt my dreams on how bad it was. But
like, it's the relationship that's so questionable between these two siblings that I think makes it bad. It's like, the only reason you'd see this is because it's almost like Troll 2 in how this is the Troll 2 of anime. You hear it and you think there's no way this thing could be as bad as that. It is. It's every bit as bad as we're making it out to be and more.
But it's not so bad it's good, unfortunately.
It's just bad it's bad.
It's not so bad it's good. Don't worry. I'm sure we'll find something that's so bad it's good. But this is
I'm sure we will. So
there's got to be something out there that's so bad it's good. There's got to be. Okay.
There has to be.
All right. Well, that's all for now. Thanks for watching, you guys, and thanks for joining me, Samven.
It was good to be here, Paul. Thank you very much.
We'll probably be doing this every Sunday.
Yeah, this might be a new thing.
And it will be my quest to find a really shitty show for Sam.
The worst part is he means it. He means that he means this because he enjoys watching me get annoyed at really bad stories.
Oh yeah,
because I used to respect him.
And to make it up for him, I'm sure one day we'll go over every single episode of Ruby.
I would be happy if we could make like every season of that like our season finale or something. Like,
all right, we'll see you guys later.
Catch you later, guys. Thanks for listening.